So if you're out there and your voice is awake, even if your voice isn't awake, just open up those lips and see if you can wrap your mouth around some words that are pretty simple. They've been used in civil rights marches for years. It's the old melody, oh Mary, don't you weep, don't you mourn, but we sing, we shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved. We're standing here for justice, and we shall not be moved. Everybody, we're standing here for justice. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved. Let's hear you now. I'm stepping away from the mic. We shall not be moved. That's better. We shall not. Just like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved. We're here for everyone, and we shall not be moved. We're here for everyone, and we shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved. We're fighting poverty. We're fighting poverty, and we shall not be moved. We're fighting poverty, and we shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. Here we go. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree planted by the water. We shall not be moved. Turns out this man David here and I share the same college. We both went to St. Olaf College, so never let it be said that Norwegians can't be movers and shakers. David.
Ja, vær så god. Ja, vær så god.
så god.
Ingen takke for. I'm David Romerheim, and I'll kind of manage the conversation here. This is the first time, and it's a time for us to really kind of peek into this national movement and look at it as a way in which we can join up locally in our towns, in our state, with 45 other states that have steering committees. So my name is David Romerheim. I'm a retired Lutheran clergy and one of the 3 tri-chairs in the Montana Poor People's Campaign. And tri-chairs are part of a steering committee. And the steering committee is, like we're sailing, we're steering, and we're looking for where we can land and where we can make a point to justice and to end poverty. The 3 tri-chairs are responsible for, one needs to be a kind of like me, a religious professional. One needs to be a person that really is struggling with income disparity and is on the firing lines with that. And one is a professional either in service sector or any means possible. So we are here to make a statement, public statement, to our representative Matt Rosendale. And that's his office directly a kitty corner. You can't see the window. He maybe is looking out and waving, or he may be in Washington. Who knows? But we need to do it here to make sure he hears what we are. The Montana Poor People's Campaign holds this press conference with 45 other states to insist that he not only read, but he passes this legislation that's in the present Congress, House of Representatives, called the Third Reconstruction, fully addressing poverty and low wages from the ground up. It's a national call for moral and economic revival throughout our country. And we start here, right here in Helena and in Montana. We also are here in honor of the territory that we borrow and reside in the living memory of the Blackfoot and the convergence of Blackfoot, Salish, Kootenai, and Crow. This is a powerful memory in this territory, and we come with that dignity and that memory. So we're excited about this nonpartisan call to fight poverty. Nonpartisan is a very important word because there is nobody that is going to be left out of this Poor People's Campaign. We are clear. We fight poverty. We do not fight the poor. We do not even listen to the tradition in our country that blames the poor for their desperate situation. Rather, we seek to listen through the voices of those affected by poverty so that we can together heal America wounded by a systemic poverty. So in a few minutes, we'll be given opportunity and honor of hearing a few stories from that struggle. We are with 45 other states. What's significant about this 10 o'clock in the morning is that it has started at noon on the East Coast and at 9 o'clock on the West Coast. Simultaneous states are having these kinds of meetings in front of their representative offices. We have one, other states have more than one. But addressing the system that causes poverty. In a little bit, we'll also be able to hear a little of that beautiful document called the Third Reconstruction and what that means. So, it's a nonpartisan resolution that took many years in the making. Here in Montana, over 410,000 people are struggling in or next to one check away from poverty. 410,000 people. In the United States, there's 140 million people. When the first Poor People's Campaign started in 1968, there were 40 million. Have we been successful? No. Now we're at 140 million, and that's not population growth. That's economic catastrophe. So what do? We expect the land to be healed on this interweaving network of moral imperatives. We expect the land to be healed after decades of massive abuse. We expect racial and ethnic division to be a thing of the past. We expect a military that does not spend 53 cents on every tax dollar. We expect that religion be used as a healing agent, not as a weapon. We expect health care to be available to all. The campaign is a statewide call for a national call for a moral revival. To look at moral, clearly you can just say, do bad or do good. We want to do good and make good happen. So, we want to do the good that makes this pandemic of poverty a race-based thing of the past. So that's why we're here today. So we are really honored to have some people speak. And here, I'm inviting Beth Burke up from Butte to tell a little bit of a story. Beth?
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Beth. I grew up in Butte in the 1960s and 70s. and that was a time of prosperity for many in Butte. Good paying mining jobs were plentiful. My dad was a machinist at the concentrator while I was growing up, and I feel certain he made good money. However, we had a large family, so we still lived paycheck to paycheck. There were strikes every 3 years, some stretching for months. My family, with 13 children, were struggling to make ends meet. Food wasn't always guaranteed, nor were the clothes we needed for school in winter. I know my parents did the best job they could, and when I was home with my family, I felt safe and secure. However, when I went to school or church, it was painfully apparent that we were very poor. Kids are cruel, and being poor made me a target for unending teasing and cruelty, leaving me feeling different and excluded. My family could not afford sports or extracurricular activity fees, so I did not participate in any school sports or activities, contributing to the growing feeling that I was different from and less than my peers. Our reputation for being a very large, poor family preceded us wherever we went. I remember coming home one day and a big box of clothes was on the porch, left there by one of my mom's well-meaning friends. My sweet mother could not understand why my sisters and I did not want to wear the cast-offs and hand-me-downs from the girls in school who tormented us for being poor and unfashionable. With so many growing children, we didn't always have shoes that fit. I remember having to wear my old winter boots during my second grade spring play while all the other kids at least had shoes to wear. Needless to say, I was positioned in the very back row, despite being shorter than everyone in front of me. As a poor child in a prosperous society, I felt devalued by the taunts of my peers, contributing to difficulty in school, difficulty socially, and low self-esteem. Food was another issue as a child. We always had something to eat, but it may not have been the most delicious or nutritious. My mother made interesting meals from skimpy ingredients, and we learned to eat without complaining. I was embarrassed by the lunches we would have to bring to school and got through the day without eating. I would cringe when I would see my peers complaining about their lunches or throwing food away. Children going without food, clothes, housing, and other basic necessities is a result of bad policy decisions. These are solvable problems that must be addressed because every human being deserves to have their basic needs met. We demand that Congressman Rosendale sign on to our resolution titled The Third Reconstruction, fully addressing poverty and low wages from the bottom up. We ask for your support for the Poor People's Campaign. Children should not have to grow up feeling less than their peers because of lack of money. A solid home, food, clothes, and activities are the cornerstones of a successful childhood. Let's make this a real possibility for every Montana child. Thank you.
Amen.
Yeah.
Honored. Sue Debris, can you come up and share your story?
Right behind you.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
From where and what brings you here?
All right. I'm a retired United Methodist pastor now living here in Helena, and I've been connected with many of you over the years in different ways, and I'm thankful for being back together again. I didn't know the Norwegian history. I'm a Swede, what can I say?
Yeah.
But we're here. We're here together because we share a common compassion, a common sense of the value of human life. It was my privilege to bring the letter to the legislature on behalf of the Montana Poor People's Campaign, signed by faith leaders from all over the state during this last legislature when we were addressing Senate Bill 100. During that time, I learned that according to the most recent Montana Poverty Report card prepared by the MSU Extension Services, 29% of the people below the poverty line in Montana are children who are under the age of 18. 9% are seniors who are 65 years or older. Some of these folks, some of us folks, need help for just a little time. Some for long stretches of time as they deal with chronic illness and disability. Most are employed, but wages can't cover a family's basic needs. My own family needed help after my father was left paralyzed by polio in 1952. He died when he was 39. I grew up in Ronan, and that community surrounded us and helped us in so many ways. But without the social security benefits that we had at that time, my brothers and I would not have been able to afford a university education, and later, as a young mom raising a, I call it quilted instead of blended, family out here in Birdseye. 6 children, not as many as you had, but still a pretty big parcel of kids to raise, and boxes of secondhand clothes got us through, and lunches at school. I had to apply for food stamps in WIC after an arson fire destroyed my husband's logging business. And a children's health program we had at the time called Children and Youth helped our kids with medical needs. Bad stuff happens in our lives, and children still need to be cared for. At that time, after the fire, I gave up trying to be a full-time mom, and I found a good job working for the Lewis and Clark City County Health Department, which was just up the street here at the time. I taught nutrition in the WIC program. I coordinated our county DUI program. So I was on the other side of the desk evaluating people's financial situation and trying to help young moms, preventing illness, helping babies grow into healthy children. And over the 12 years that I worked there, I estimate I served about 10,000 individuals. Like me, most of them didn't want to be on assistance, but bad stuff happens, and children need to be cared for. At one point, we tried to establish outreach sites for WIC in adjoining counties. We researched where we could find space so that we could hold a WIC clinic once a month there and work with local county health nurses. And I'll never forget addressing one group of county commissioners who I won't name, but the chair of that county commission looked me straight in the eye and said to me, "That's all we need, more of those babies surviving." Friends, what we have here is a crisis of values, a moral crisis. We have an attitude adjustment that needs to happen. This little Constitution that we say we belong to, or belongs to us, starts out with saying the government's to provide for the common defense. And we tend to think of common defense as defending ourselves against enemies overseas or the terrorists out there somewhere. But in all reality, too often, we are our own worst enemies. When we exploit, when we intentionally create fear and mistrust and hate toward each other, there's psychops at work in our country, demeaning and disoriented people and dismantling social service ministries that we have in major churches, promoting a cult of individualism. There's a group called Institute for Religion and Democracy behind a lot of things, and ALEC that a lot of you are familiar with, and sometimes maybe they do some good, and we all need to be listening to each other's thoughts and concerns, but hand in hand, this group has made a real determined effort to try to dismantle the social justice emphasis of many of our major churches, including the United Methodist, ELCA, Presbyterian Church, and the Roman Catholics too. Different names, but the same source. I thank God that God doesn't give up on any of us, and I am thankful for God raising up people like William Barber to pull us together and get us going in a new direction. I'm really excited and thankful for what we have going here today. And I pray and I hope that we may still remember that children still need care, and that as we work together, we can change some of those attitudes and promote the values of dignity and respect and liberty for all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Kate Northrup, can you come and share your story? You might have to get close to the mic. It's not nerve-wracking. It's just needing to hear you. Thank you, Kate.
Hi, my name is Kat, and my story is a small one. I grew up here in Helena, and I didn't grow up in poverty. I landed there as an adult, not through not through a moral failing or a lack of work, as as we've been raised to believe. No addiction, no big mistakes. I lived here most of my life. I went to college in the Midwest, came back, and for the last 7 years I've been working 2 jobs, one full-time, one part-time. And recently I became a stepmom, and I didn't expect my checks to cover a family. But every week I come to the situation of, well, which bills are we going to pay in full and which groceries are we going to get? And I don't want that for my stepdaughter. I want to believe better for our community, that we can look past the old stereotypes of moral failings, addiction, mental health, stigma, these things that most folks seem to assume will lead folks to poverty. It's not that. It's that the cost of living has far outpaced the hours in the day there are to work. We need this. We need this change in moral view. We need a change in our community's hearts. And if we wish to believe, if we wish to fully and completely follow through with the value of family, friends, religious community, say our children need help. Every child deserves care. We need to overhaul and walk the walk. We can't just say we believe it and not follow through. Helena needs this, Montana needs this, the US needs this. Our morals are falling behind. And it's not just because a few don't want to work, a few can't work, or there are no jobs. There are jobs, but they're not hiring, not really. We need change. We deserve better because we are a community and we have to believe it.
Thank you very, very, very much. Audra Landis. Oh, here we go. There you go.
Thank you. I got my go, please. This way people can hear me better.
Yeah, come up to the mic so we can a little bit perfect.
Okay.
Thanks, Audra.
Greetings. My name is Audra Landis, and I live in Helena, and I am a stay-at-home mama of a little 3-year-old.
Yay.
Many people believe that poor people deserve to be poor because of the choices that they've made. But many of us are educated, hardworking people. And for those of us like my family, we're just that one paycheck away from poverty. A few years ago, I gave birth to my first child. And the most joyous time of my life became the most stressful when I started to experience serious mental health issues. I struggled to focus at work, to complete my tasks, to care for myself, and to bond with my baby. And I was forced to take a leave of absence for work. After a month, I had exhausted all of my sick leave, all of the pooled sick leave, and my vacation time. And I was informed that they were unable to accommodate my health needs, and they let me go. My family then lost our major source of income, and we were unable to pay our bills. We weren't able to pay our rent, and we were forced to move out. And we lost access to our food and our water, and then we took up shelter in an abandoned camper with a newborn baby. We tried reaching out to people in the community for help, but found that many of our programs had been removed, and there was a severe reduction in the available mental health workers, and most of the services were no longer taking new families. We spent all summer in that hot camper trying to navigate the system, trying to fill out paperwork and make appointments. And we found out that due to my partner's disability income, we only qualified for reduced SNAP. We overqualified for TANF. And we were able to get approved for Section 8, but we only had 60 days to find a place to live. We took up transitional shelter for about 2 months, and we were finally able to locate a place to stay just before that voucher expired. Without access to case managers, community support, and proper funding for mental health, I lost my job, access to food and water, stable shelter, and my family experienced homelessness for a year, encountered countless obstacles while we tried to get back on our feet. My family and families just like mine wouldn't have to struggle so long if our system was set up to support living wage, health care for all, and affordable housing before we needed to seek that additional assistance from the state programs, in which are already getting issues with battling constant budget cuts. All it takes is that one life-changing event or the loss of that one paycheck to plunge us all into homelessness. Today, I work with multiple physicians to stabilize my mental health so that I can do basic daily functions. And everyone deserves to have access to the care they need to survive, to live a healthy life. We ask for everyone to join together behind this resolution to fight for the health care, the housing, and especially guaranteed wages for all. No one deserves to go through what my family has endured. And together, we can put an end to the suffering that so many of us face. Thank you. Thank you.
There's two more here to go, and one is Kendra Wild to offer a perspective from the faith community. Kendra?
Thank you for sharing your stories. They're powerful stories, and it has taken courage to tell them, and they're stories that we need to hear. I'm an ordained minister in the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, and I have a question for you. It's maybe not the question you're expecting, but it's a question nonetheless. And that is, what are you not supposed to talk about during Thanksgiving dinner?
Yeah.
Politics. Religion and politics. And what am I here today to talk about? Religion and politics. There are lots of people who are really tired of the interplay between the church, the synagogue, the mosque, and politics. And they are tired of the way that church and faith communities have been manipulated and are manipulating voting systems. But I'm here today to tell you 3 reasons why we, all people, both those in faith communities and those outside of faith communities, should be involved in political work like the Poor People's Campaign. First, when we avoid political discussions and engagement, we are essentially casting a vote for the status quo. For example, most American churches in the early 19th century, with notable exception of the Quakers, did not speak out against slavery because that was what we would now call getting political. Their silence was actually supporting slavery. Their silence was complicity To not be political is to be political. What side of history are you going to be on? Second, when we are involved with movements like this, we expand our efforts exponentially. Another story. The congregation I serve here in Helena partners with Helena Food Share to ensure that hungry kids in our community have enough to eat on a regular basis. When we assemble the kid packs, we feel good about ourselves. We like making a difference, and we are. We are helping to feed the 1 in 5 hungry kids in our community. Yet the truth is, charitable organizations like churches, like Helena Food Share, can't do it alone. Bread for the World estimates that 5% of food assistance in the U.S. comes through charitable organizations, and the federal government provides the rest. So why advocacy? Why must we demand better public policy? It's in the numbers. I'm a practical person. I like to see people being fed. Third, the most easily verifiable doctrine in Christian theology is the doctrine of sin. There's plenty of evidence around. Now, you can use other words for it if you prefer. You can talk about human fallibility or brokenness, or even evil. But any way you describe it, you've seen it. And we've seen it brought to the full light of day over the past 15 months. We have witnessed racism and greed, malice, dishonesty. And that's just in my heart. What's in yours? What the third Reconstruction understands is that our country is going to be rebuilt only when we address the moral infrastructure of our country. The third Reconstruction reminds Americans of the values we still share and the damage done when people are not held accountable for trampling on them. The values are pretty basic. Values of unity. We are one people, and when one of us suffers, all of us suffer. The value of honesty. We can't have deliberative democracy without respect for truth. Pluralism. Human difference makes our lives richer and more interesting. We treasure people for what they bring to our mosaic or our quilts. Sympathy. We want to be around people with good hearts. We feel for those who are suffering, who are faithful friends, whose daily lives are marked by kindness. And opportunity. We want all children to have an open field and a fair chance in the great race of life. Now, the formation or the reformation of a country, of our country, will never be separate from the reformation of our inner lives, our hearts. The condition of our state will reflect the condition of our minds. So there you have it. 3 reasons to be awake to this moment in our political life together. We refuse to accept the status quo. We're practical people who want to expand our work for justice exponentially. And finally, we understand our country will be rebuilt only when we address the moral infrastructure of our country. And there are more reasons. I am sure that all of you have thought of 5 more while I was speaking. And I hope that you go out and tell your friends about those reasons why we need this reconstruction.
Thank you, Pastor. Jasmine Kotrokov is going to give you a couple items from this legislation piece, and then I will have a couple comments and we'll close. Okay, Jasmine?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for showing up on this beautiful Montana spring morning. My name is Jasmine Krotkov, and I'm a former representative from the Montana State Legislature, and I currently work as a hotel housekeeper. So whether I'm making beds or making laws, I'm proud to be in public service. I joined the Poor People's Campaign because what they're saying about all of these things is, it speaks to my condition. It speaks to our condition, as you heard from the people who testified today. The need to revive our moral and political commitments to democracy is rising from the bottom up. After the Civil War, we had the first Reconstruction, and then the second Reconstruction was the civil rights struggles of the 20th century. This third Reconstruction, in the form of a resolution, which has been introduced by Representative Barbara Lee in Congress, fully addresses poverty and low wages from the bottom up. The bill commits to heal and transform the nation with moral and just laws and policies. You can read the whole resolution on the website thirdreconstruction.org. We have a few printed copies here too, if you feel like taking one home. And the language of this resolution is plain. Most laws are not plain or easy to understand. This one is, because this resolution is for us to use. Here are a few things that it says in the resolution. It says the widespread conditions of poverty and low wages cannot be explained by blaming individual behaviors. They aren't inherent to our economy or society. They're created and sustained by unjust and immoral laws, policies, systems, and structures. It says that we must heal the nation by protecting and expanding voting rights. It says our broken immigration system is harmful to immigrants and our society as a whole. It says that we can start healing the nation by honoring treaties with Native peoples, by offering protection against legislation or land transfers that violate sacred rights. And it says that we must end mass incarceration, violent policing, that we must guarantee diverse, safe, high-quality, equitable public education, and that we need the third Reconstruction in order to rethink giving 53 cents of every federal discretionary dollar to the Pentagon. And think again about using our joint resources instead for public health infrastructure, a jobs guarantee, clean water, and more. Contrary to common myths, our country, the richest in the world, has abundant resources to protect the environment and ensure dignified lives for all people. When we lift from the bottom, everyone rises. That's why we're calling for Representative Matt Rosendale to please co-sponsor this bill for all of Montana. Thank you.
Thank you, and I do invite you to look at that document and read it. It's really a readable document and very helpful. It gives you the language to talk to your neighbors also. Judy Fell's going to come up here to close us with a song, but I think I've got 3 images I want us to go home with. I'm an old man, and I've been around the block a couple times, and I graduated from high school in 1970. That's how old I am. And since 1970, when I read this and learned this, the whole infrastructure of change, including the native properties, the land, since 1970, 60% of the mammalian species have gone extinct. That's my watch, and I feel very sinful about my watch, my responsibility, and that's where we're at, trying to make sure we stop that. Since 1963, before then, when they marched on Washington, they were asking for a $2 minimum wage. In today's language, that would be $15. They didn't get it in 1963, but we're going to get it in 2021. And then at 68, like I said before, 40 million were in poverty or one check away from poverty. Now that's 140 million. That is a moral outrage. So Judy, can you come and send us out with some music, some soul, and some.
Yeah, I'm going to turn this. I'm going to turn this because more people are here than are out there, and I don't like to have my back to anyone, but I have a feeling that some of my singers are right here. This is a song that Sweet Honey and the Rock did. It's based on the life of Ella Baker, who is a civil rights activist whose name is not that well known because she was one of those many people who worked behind the scenes and got it done. And this song is one that we sang in the Montana Women's Chorus, which is where I first met Kat. We sang it right up the street here in the yoga studio one evening, and I remember thinking, I wonder what people think about us singing political songs in a yoga studio. But I'm one of those people that is not afraid to bring up politics and religion at the dinner table or the yoga studio. So some people don't like it, but hey, I am who I am, as Popeye said. So there's a chorus to this that you can all sing, and if you aren't holding a sign, you can clap. And it goes, we who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Until the killing of black men, black mothers' sons, is as important as the killing of white men, white mothers' sons. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Now that which touches me most is that I had a chance to work with people, passing on to others that which was passed on to me. So let's sing it. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. If you're lucky, this will come to you in the middle of the night. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. To me, young people come first. They have the courage where we fail. And if I can but shed some light, they carry us through the gale. Oh, we who believe in freedom cannot rest till it comes. Yeah. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. The older I get, the better I know that the secret of my going on is when the reins are in the hands of the young who dare to run against the storm. So we who believe in freedom cannot rest till it comes. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Not needing to clutch for power, not needing the light just to shine on me. I need to be one in the number as we shall stand against tyranny. Oh, we who believe in freedom cannot rest till it comes. Here we go. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Struggling myself don't mean a whole lot, but I've come to realize that teaching others to stand up and fight is the only way our struggle survives. On the offbeat now. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Now, this is Ella Baker saying this. I'm a woman who speaks in a voice, and I must be heard.
Yeah.
At times I can be quite difficult. I will bow to no man's word. Yeah, we who believe in freedom cannot rest till it comes. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Yeah. Thank you, Sweet Honey and the Rock.